Red Bull's RB22 faces the biggest regulation change in a decade, with smaller dimensions, active aerodynamics, and an engine delivering 50% of its power from electricity. There are no more Adrian Newey designs and no more Honda engines. Early reports suggest some interesting technical choices for the chassis. What do we actually know about how this car is being built, and why are some details already raising eyebrows? The answers might change how you see this entire season. Everything about the RB22 starts with understanding what the 2026 regulations demand. The cars will shrink considerably compared to current machinery. Minimum weight drops by 30 kilograms to 768 kilograms. Wheelbase contracts from 3,600 millimeters to 3,400 millimeters. Overall width narrows from 2,000 millimeters to 1,900 millimeters. These changes add up to significantly more agile cars than the heavy machines we have grown used to watching. Ground effect Venturi tunnels that define the 2022 regulations disappear entirely, replaced by flatter floors with extended diffusers. This represents a complete aerodynamic philosophy reset, meaning years of development work on current floor concepts become irrelevant overnight. Active aerodynamics replace DRS, with movable front and rear wings operating in two modes. Z mode delivers high downforce for corners, while X mode reduces drag on straights. Drivers also gain access to overtake mode when within 1 second of arrival, unlocking an extra half megajoule of electrical energy deployable anywhere across a lap, rather than in fixed zones. Paint regulations now mandate at least 55% livery coverage on the car's surface, ending the exposed carbon fiber weight-saving tricks teams exploited in 2022. That weight target of 768 kilograms will challenge every team given how heavy the new power units are expected to be. Stripping every possible gram from the chassis becomes critical, and teams will fight for every advantage they can find. Red Bull has guarded specific car details closely, but some information has emerged. Italian publication Autoracer reported the RB22 will run double pushrod suspension at both front and rear. This marks a significant departure from the pull-rod front suspension Red Bull employed since 2022. The report remains unconfirmed by official sources, but the reasoning behind such a choice makes sense given the new regulations. Pushrod suspension offers mechanical simplicity and more predictable car behavior. With completely redesigned front and rear wings featuring active elements, teams need suspension systems that respond consistently. Pushrod layouts also provide packaging benefits for the rear of the car, which becomes critical when integrating these new, larger electrical components into the chassis. The flatter floor regulations change how suspension geometry affects aerodynamics compared to current cars. What worked with Venturi tunnels may not translate to the new floor designs, which explains why teams might reconsider their suspension philosophies entirely. Development status updates from Paul Monahan in November 2025 confirmed that the engines are in manufacture and that large chunks of the car are being manufactured. Physical parts exist, and they are being assembled in Milton Keynes right now. Monahan added a warning alongside that update, saying getting a car to reliably do laps in a simulation world is proving quite difficult. The regulation changes are so extensive that even virtual testing presents challenges teams have not faced before. The engine defines what the RB22 can achieve, and Red Bull built theirs from nothing. When Honda announced their Formula One exit in October 2020, Red Bull established Red Bull Powertrains Limited in February 2021. They recruited Ben Hodgkinson from Mercedes High Performance Powertrains and announced a Ford partnership on February 4, 2023. Ford's involvement expanded far beyond initial electrification focus. Mark Rushbrook revealed in May 2025 that they are literally making parts every day and shipping parts from Dearborn that are being tested in Milton Keynes. Ford now provides battery cells, electric motors, turbocharger development, and combustion engine testing rigs. The power unit runs on the dyno, Laurent Mekies confirmed in November 2025. Ben Hodgkinson estimates over 20,000 individual components, compared to the 600 parts teams typically redesign in a normal season. These new regulations demand internal combustion output of 400 kilowatts, while the MGU-K output nearly triples to 350 kilowatts. That creates the mandated 50% split between electrical and combustion power. The MGU-H disappears entirely. Total output still exceeds 1,000 brake horsepower, but energy management becomes critical to lap time. How the RB22 integrates this power unit into its chassis determines how competitive the car can be. Packaging the larger electrical components while meeting weight targets and maintaining proper balance represents one of the biggest engineering challenges Red Bull has faced. Hodgkinson says he is fairly confident they are probably developing faster than Mercedes now. Helmut Marko is more cautious. He says he hopes they do not see a repeat of 2014, when Mercedes had 50 to 70 more horsepower. January the 15th, 2026 brings the car reveal at Michigan Central Station in Detroit, timed with the Detroit Auto Show to celebrate Ford's return to Formula One. The car shown in Detroit will almost certainly feature simplified bodywork. Red Bull guards their aerodynamic concepts closely, and no team reveals actual race specification details at launch events. Expect a show car with basic surfaces rather than the real RB22. Barcelona hosts private testing from January the 26th to January 30th behind closed doors. This shakedown focuses on basic systems, engine function, and getting initial data rather than performance running. Teams use these private tests to identify fundamental problems before official pre-season sessions. Bahrain takes the first official test from February 11th to February 13th, followed by a second test from February 18th to February 20th. These sessions provide the first real competitive data, though teams still hide performance potential at this stage. Melbourne opens the season from March 6th to March 8th for the Australian Grand Prix. That timeline gives Red Bull less than 2 months from the Detroit reveal to actual racing. The car will evolve significantly between Barcelona and Bahrain, with major aerodynamic updates expected throughout that window. Some teams may even build final components in the garage at Melbourne. The people designing the RB22 differ entirely from those who created Red Bull's championship-winning machinery. Adrian Newey announced his departure on May 1, 2024, and he is officially leaving on February 28, 2025. The next day, he joined Aston Martin. The greatest aerodynamicist in Formula One now works for a competitor, rather than shaping the RB22. Christian Horner was sacked on July 9, 2025. Laurent Mekies stepped in that same day. He previously served as Racing Bull's team principal, and before that he was Ferrari's racing director. Helmut Marko announced his departure on December 9, 2025, at the age of 82. Pierre Wache remains as technical director with a contract through 2028. His philosophy shapes the RB22's aerodynamic direction. Key engineers signed long-term deals, providing continuity in the design office even as leadership changed above them. Mekies acknowledged the challenge directly, saying it would be naive to think we are going to land it on the top spot straight away. We know we are going to have a few very tough months. Max Verstappen stays at Red Bull through 2028, confirming in July 2025 that he never seriously considered leaving despite the uncertainty. Verstappen switches from number 33 to number 3 for 2026, receiving Daniel Ricciardo's blessing after Ricciardo retired in September 2025. Isaac Hadjar gets promoted from Racing Bulls to partner with Verstappen. Driver feedback shapes car development throughout the season. Verstappen's ability to extract maximum performance from difficult machinery and communicate setup requirements to engineers becomes critical during the early phase when the RB22 needs rapid development. The RB22 represents Red Bull's biggest engineering gamble. Smaller dimensions, flatter floors, active aerodynamics, and a power unit with over 20,000 components built from scratch. Rumored double pushrod suspension, front and rear, marks a departure from recent philosophy. Physical parts are in manufacture, but simulation reliability remains challenging. Detroit reveals the car January 15th. Barcelona shakedown runs January 26th. Bahrain testing begins February 11th. Melbourne opens racing March 6th. Mekies expects tough months ahead. Verstappen believes Mercedes will lead on engine performance. Paul Monahan warns the grid spread could be bigger than anything we currently see. Whether the RB22 delivers depends on questions nobody can answer until these cars hit the track. January 15th gives us our first look at what Red Bull created. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, please leave a like and subscribe. See you in the next one.